Hello, NFT hunters. I'm Creatorius Rex. Some people know me as Bret Kinsella. Today, we have a special edition of the Niftorian show for you today. We're going to talk about the world's first NFT Artist Demo Day. And today, we're doing a recap. I'm going to bring my co-hosts for this. We've got Roger Kibbe and Skojo making a special appearance from below the desk. Hey, Skojo. Hey, Roger, how are you doing?
Doing good, Bret. Glad to be here. Such an exciting event. Great. Looking forward to talking about a recap.
Absolutely. Okay, so just to do the setup here, we ran the world's first NFT Artist Accelerator. It is based on the whole concept of a tech startup accelerator. In the NFT space, these things are more than just producing art and putting them on a marketplace. There's all these other things that go around with it. Now, not to say that some people don't do that. You can just mint a piece of art and hope someone buys it. But most of the successful projects, the ones that really take advantage of the Web3 properties, actually treat it more like a company in a lot of ways. And in the tech space, people know about VCs and maybe they've heard about accelerators. Well, the accelerators, what they do is they take software engineers who know a lot about building software products, but don't know a lot about finance, marketing, any of these other things that are required. And they run them through a program for about 3 months. They do learning sessions. They introduce them to people. They fill in their gaps in knowledge and connections. And then 3 months later, they're ready to get things rolling. And so the NFT space, the artists are kind of like the software engineers. So in that regard, then they needed all the same things. They needed marketing. They needed to know how to run Discord communities or whatever their things are in order to take advantage of Web3. So we came up with this idea of an NFT Artist Accelerator, mostly because artists were asking us questions and we kept answering the same ones. It seemed like a better idea just to bring people together. So in December, we accepted a bunch of applications. We interviewed people in January. And at the end of January, we kicked off the world's first NFT Artist Accelerator. The sole goal was to help promising artists, some of them pretty advanced in their career, very successful in the real world, some of them very early in their career, get into the NFT space, putting their best foot forward, thinking through building a sophisticated solution, making sure that they are making decisions about their NFT journey that are going to be consistent with what they're trying to accomplish. And so we did that for about 8 weeks. And yesterday, so it was March 31st, 2022, we had the demo day, which is the capstone activity of this, where 12 artists presented their NFT projects to the world. Now, it's kind of a semi-private thing. We're going to talk about it, though, today. Some of these won't be revealed actually to the public for couple weeks, maybe even a couple of months. Some are going out right away. So we're going to go through each of them, give you our hot takes on what we thought about them and things that you might like to know about them. All right. So Roger, Skojo, and I are all part of Niftorian. And that was the sponsoring project for this. We help artists. That's really what we're focused on. It's an artist-centric project, and the accelerator is one of the things we do. And so that's why we're here, and that's why we're qualified to talk about this. We saw everything just like everybody else, but we also saw the entire evolution of these projects because we saw where these artists were in January and where they wound up. So that's our setup. I'm pretty excited about this. Any comments before we get started, Roger or Skojo?
No, excited.
No. Let's see the art and let's talk about it.
Perfect. Okay,
yeah, so awesome. Let's do it.
First thing. So this is the recap of the NFT Artist Demo Day. And first artist up yesterday was Colin Goldberg with the Metagraph collection. All right, let's start with you, Skojo. What were your thoughts about this? You've known Colin for a while.
I thought it was amazing. I love that he's really combining this vector stuff and he's pulling in all of these numerical things of importance. I know it's based on the number 23, which is really, really cool. I'm excited to see how this evolves in the space because I know he's going to do some really cool like augmented reality stuff with it in a show soon. We're going to be able to interact with it and have it animate. So yeah, it's a really cool evolution of seeing it go from just vector to interacting in the real world. So very, very cool stuff.
Roger?
Yeah, well, I would agree with Skojo. It is really cool animations. And what really strikes me at Colin's work is he does such a great job of choosing the soundtrack that goes with it. And he picks sound effects. There's like sirens in there, and there's a subway announcer in there, and it really, really goes well with the animation. It just brings it alive. And so really incredible stuff.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I really like about this is Colin was really ahead of his time. So a number of the pieces we saw yesterday were more than 20 years old. So he's got this collection that's basically been being compiled since the 1990s, but it was actually perfectly designed for the NFT world because these have full motion graphics. They're, you know, essentially the art is the code. He had this great slide that he showed where he showed on one side, he showed the image, and the other side, he showed the code that created the image. And so this was 20 years ago, and people are doing this now on the blockchain, generative art, you know, or algorithmic generative art, all these things that we're seeing. You know, back then it wasn't the thing that it is today. And so I really like this. And if you look at his collection, what I thought was really meaningful is it's an evolution of his art. And if you don't know who Colin Goldberg is, if you're watching, he's the founder of this movement called Techspressionism. It's the intersection of technology and art, and being able to express yourself as an artist using technology. And so each year almost along the way since the late 1990s, he's been using some new technology, some new technique that's new to the world, and he's created something for this Metagraph collection. And so it's not only the evolution of his art, but it's also really the evolution of art technology, digital art technology as we see it today. And now he's got this collection of 23 items, of which I think there's 3 or 5 that are already out there, but they're going to be minting the 23rd of each month for most of the next year. And he's going to debut them at a Southampton art show on the 23rd of April, which is coming up very shortly. And the piece he minted yesterday, I think, sold like immediately. So I really have a high regard for Colin and his work. And yes, Gojo, the AR element is very cool because these things actually, you know, they look very good as a still image. They look even better as a moving image. But if you do an art show or you put it into a book, you miss some of that because you miss the analog to digital conversion. And so the AR app now that he's going to make available is that anytime you use the special AR app, if you see the still image, you'll be able to hold the AR app over it and you'll be able to see the full motion.
Super cool.
All right. Any other comments on Colin?
Amazing work. That's what my biggest comment.
Absolutely. Okay. And by the way, everybody, for each of these, we'll put in the comments below links to how you can find out more about these. And actually, if you just go to the Niftorian or Niftorious Discord server, we'll put a link in there as well. It's an easy way to get to all these because all these artists, you know, we support them and make sure that people can find them. Okay. So next up, we had Carmen Moses with Skellybots. What do you think, Roger?
So I love Skellybots. They're so fun and imaginative. And, you know, she has such a great story of these, you know, alien beings coming 1,000 years in the future and trying to figure out human civilization and kind of their funny interpretation. So there's this great story. And then you see this really fun artwork with these skeletons doing kind of crazy stuff. And it just draws you in. And these are, it's the kind of art, the more Skellybots I see, the more I like the Skellybots. And so, yeah, I think Carmen has a really bright future with Skellybots.
What do you think, Scotch?
I love these. Super playful. You know, as an illustrator, I love seeing all the detail in what she does and all these different cultural references. I remember in the breakout room yesterday, she said, and I quote her, she said, "It's okay to say this." She said, "Before the accelerator, she didn't know a blockchain from a booty." And now she's a pro. Now she's like a regular degen, knows all the terms and knows the lingo, and you know, has a story down and is well on her way. So yeah, it's awesome to see her progression, and these are awesome. They're tailor made for the NFT space. So
yeah, and I like the fact that she's doing a couple different collections. She's doing one which is sort of the, I don't know, the debut collection, which is just a few things with additions so people can, you know, get to know the Skellybots a little bit. And she's got those up on Tezos right now. And then she's going to do a larger PFP drop, which is going to help flesh out the story a little bit, which I think is really interesting. You know, Roger, that was the thing that I didn't know. So when she applied, we saw a couple of her images. We weren't sure she was going to do Skellybots or not because we saw a number of her artworks. And then we interviewed her and we started talking about Skellybots. And then she started telling us that there's this whole story behind it. Like she had the lore worked out in her head already. I guess it's not surprising. She comes from the performing arts as well. So she does a lot of work in that space. But this idea that, you know, essentially the Skellybots, they're not what you might think they are. They're not human skeletons. They're not robots that humans made. They're actually an interstellar group of anthropologists. And archaeologists. So I'll leave it there. So you guys should go check out Skellybots and learn a little bit more. All right. Next up, Tommy Mintz, Crane Street Studio, algorithmic photography. Roger, let's start with you.
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of Tommy's. You know, photography speaks to my heart. My father was a photographer, so I love photography. When I saw Tommy's work and he layers like 50 or 60 pictures on top of each other, and he does it in New York City. And one of the things that happens then is these are static still images, but you get all the motion, right? And what a great, I mean, New York City is just a city in constant motion. And when you look at Tommy's photos and you see the motion there and you zoom in and you discover things, it's just incredible. To really appreciate Tommy's work, you have to zoom in and check all over the place, because all these really interesting effects that happen when you layer 50 or 60 photographs on top of each other. So it's really, really cool stuff. And I love what he's doing, expressing motion with a still image in just such a unique and innovative way. So big fan of Tommy's.
Yeah, I didn't get it at first what he was doing, and I thought it was maybe like a darkroom effect, or, you know, I didn't know what was going on. But it's an algorithm, and he takes any number. It could be 10, it could be 50 different images, and the algorithm goes and basically picks out differences. And the thing that I thought was really interesting is it's basically a time lapse, but it's a time lapse that's all presented at once. And therefore it's actually pulling some things away. So like the things that are missing sometimes are just as interesting as the things that show up there. He has this other picture where he's got one of these images and it's at a corner, and you see both the left and right turn signal, the left stop signal and the left turn signal. So the green arrow and the red arrow both illuminated, because at some point they both were, because it's a time lapse. And I think it's just a really innovative piece. I'm not seeing anybody do photography quite like this. And then he had this amazing thing at the end too. All the artists had breakout rooms at the end. Some did them in Google Meet, some did them in Zoom, so that the people who participate, or the people who watch demo day, or the audience, the collectors, the other artists, they could drop in and ask the artists about their projects. He did his in a metaverse space that he built, and that was called Crane Street Studio, which was really interesting because he thought that would be really fun to try to recreate his favorite studio space, which was a building that eventually got torn down in New York City.
Yeah, I hung out in there. That was really, really actually fun. Tommy's work's amazing. I told him it's like a visual banquet. It's like I can't stop looking at all the different pieces. There's so much going on, and like Roger said, I mean, New York City is like the perfect palette for him to pull from. It's just really cool stuff. I think he does it in Python, right? I think.
Yeah, it's Python code that and it's available if anybody wants to use it. I think he'll help you actually use it.
Yeah, it's up in GitHub, so he wants people to use it. So
he does.
Yeah.
Very kind, very giving guy. Love Tommy.
Okay, Professor Tommy Mintz, that is to you and me. Yeah. Okay, Alex Leyva. All right. Well, Roger, you were her mentor, so we should let you go first, I think.
All right. Yeah. So Alex lives in Mexico, right on the border. Literally, the wall is in her backyard. And so she has just this incredible perspective, having grown up in Mexico, spent some time in the US, lived in the UK for 10 years, and then moved back to Mexico. And so her view of, you know, all these cultural influences and the challenges, and then what she sees on a border town with really desperate people trying to cut across the, you know, into the US, and all the challenges that you see with immigration and crime that goes along with it along the border areas and everything. She molds that all into just this incredible story. She's a great storyteller. And then her art is this installation art, and what she's doing, there's some screenshots there, that kind of the installation art that she's planning. And then she's going to take, you know, pieces of this and in virtual reality and sell them as NFTs. So I can't get over when I talked to Alex, and we ended up in these deep, long conversations about immigration and the challenges and cultural differences between the countries. What an incredible person, what an incredible artist, and what an incredible message, and what an incredible conversation that we all need to have about the challenges that are bringing people, you know, thousands of miles to try to cross a border. What does that mean? Is that good? Is that bad? What are the impacts of all the countries and the people involved? So great message and really powerful artwork.
Yeah, I think this is a great example to me too of the variety we wound up having. We didn't actually even know we'd get this much variety in projects. This is for a physical piece. Most people don't think of physical installations as being compatible with the NFT land, but it absolutely is. And particularly in this case, she's got benefits both from the digital side, but also the physical side where you can go visit. And just as an orientation, when you look at that image and you're watching it on the right in particular, you can see what's behind that, the fence or wall. That's the border wall between the US and Mexico. And so, you know, this project is about actually building a physical piece in front of that. And it's called El Dorado. And I have some comments on that, but I want to hear what Skojo had to say.
I think it's amazing. Really, really powerful. I mean, she's a really versatile artist. If you want to be impressed, I mean, look at her website. She's done stuff for huge brands. She's done like these projections. She's done these like motion tracking with these dancers where she's overlaid all these different patterns and three-dimensional mapping. It's super, super, super cool. Yeah, I love what she does. She's an amazing artist.
Okay. So I'll just make a couple more comments. The name of her project, El Dorado, as we said earlier, and El Dorado is that mythical city of gold that the Spanish conquistadors were looking for in the New World. And it's this idea that she's translated into a concept of, you know, always seeking that city of gold. And you walk through that door to El Dorado, and then it's there. And some of the conversations were amazing because she lived for a decade in London, and then she came back, and it really opened her eyes to the things she hadn't seen before, she hadn't noticed. And she talks about this idea of being desensitized. Once you're on the other side of the door to El Dorado, when you're in that mythical city of gold, whether it be London, whether it be New York City, wherever it is, you tend to be desensitized to the suffering that's going on the other side of the door. And so there's these dual stories going on about the seeking, sometimes fruitlessly, by people trying to find El Dorado and to get there. And, you know, is it really what they were looking for? Does the journey actually become the end before they even get to it? Oh, and then also on the other side, do they ever look back? Do they know what it is? So in any event, really high concept stuff, really practical, impactful art. I loved it. Okay. Linton, our man from South Africa, the filmmaker, the 3D artist. Skojo, I think you spent a lot of time with Linton.
Lynn's awesome. Yeah, these are adorable. Someone from the audience said they look like little marshmallows. I just want to eat them. They're just, I mean, they're perfect for the children's demographic. I know he's trying to do a children's show, and I love the message. And his message is all about you know, self-awareness, being comfortable in your own skin. He's awesome. He did a really cool filter too on Snapchat, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. The GM glasses.
GM glasses. So he's he's embedded in the space and he's committed, and I love Linton. This is such a cool project. I want one.
Likewise, you know, it's he has such a great story of, you know, he had a son and he's an animator, and he's like, I want my son to see the cartoons that I created. And that's why he created Olly Toons. And these are, I don't care what age you are. And I know he's targeting children with these. I mean, you look at him and you smile. I'm looking at him and smiling right now, right? Because they're so cute and fun. And we're not even seeing the animated version, but they move around and they dance. And it's just something that brings, I don't say, how can you not look at Olly Toons and have joy, not bring joy to your heart? They're fun. They're exciting. They're fun. That's the bit. They are absolutely fun in every sense of the word.
Yeah, they're great.
So yeah, Linton Nkambule is a perfect example of the magic of the NFT world. So Linton's from South Africa. So we started out, the first three artists we talked about, I think, were Vermont, New York City, or excuse me, Vermont, Georgia, New York City. Now then we had Mexico, and now we've got South Africa. And I would have never seen anything by Linton if it weren't for the NFT world. And he's got a few little videos on YouTube. He created them for his son. Other people sort of found them. They like the Olly Toons. And first of all, just the fact that there's NFTs brings us all together. So we're all looking at different types of things that we wouldn't really look at. And these things that, like the animation, you have to check this out. It's really amazing. But the other thing that I think was really great about it is how through this process, he really refined what he was going to do. He was going to do these, you know, he was going to do all these little shorts. And then we started talking about a story. And then he said, you know, I'm going to do this self-acceptance story. And then his NFT project came around this idea of, okay, you can get an Olly Toon, like this full motion graphic NFT, which will be yours to keep. But some of those, he's going to put his cast members in a short film, and he's already been accepted to short film. So he's a short filmmaker, a 3D short filmmaker. He's actually had pieces shown in 2 different film festivals today. He's going to do one with Olly Toons, which he's never done before because of this. And then all of the collectors, they get to go along with his journey of creating the Olly Toons short film. They'll get early access, premiere. And, you know, frankly, people should be aware. So first of all, this stuff is great for merch and all these things. But it's the type of quality and the type of, you know, sort of brand impact that is likely to do well in some of these film festivals. And like, if you do well in a film festival like this, it can lead to actually feature film. It can lead to television. So that's just more of the journey I think that people are going to enjoy, you know, working or, you know, supporting Linton's project. Okay. Renata with Marlinspike, Renata Gigi on all the social. What do you think, Gibbs?
So I'm a big fan of Renata's. So this is a still, and then she also does a lot of animations, and she'll take like that face in the middle and it'll split off in these kind of geographic patterns. And it's really very mesmerizing, actually, when you watch it and then you come back together. And then she ties all, so that home, I'm sure if that was an animation, would split up and then would come back together. So there's this whole journey of the visual elements in her animated pieces where they all split up and do these incredible things. And then they all coalesce back together. And it's really fun and just interesting. And then we learn that she creates the soundtracks too, as well. So she's a musician who actually writes the soundtracks. And so my question was, well, Renata, what comes first, the art or the music? And she's like, it depends. Yeah. Sometimes I write the music and then I think of the art. And sometimes I create the art and then create the music for it. So really a multi-talented artist who does some really interesting things visually.
Yeah, she's really great. We've had a lot of great conversations on Mint Monday. She's there like every week, usually minting, really, really constructive. Always engaging with everyone. Talk about like a symbiotic relationship. You know, I asked her, like, how do you make these things? Like, you use so many different programs, and she was so giving with her app. She's like, oh, I use this and this and this and this, and like, here I am learning from one of our artists. So I think it's awesome that we can learn from each other, and it's been beneficial for everyone involved. So
I didn't know about that. Awesome. I didn't know about the fact that she used so many different programs, and that's interesting you bring that up, because her artwork looks different than the other things. Like, it's not that it looks different. I don't know. I haven't seen anything that looks quite like what she's doing. And it must be because it's this meld of so many different tools.
Yeah. Yeah. Just mix it all together.
Yeah. Well, the other amazing thing about this, which I thought was really super. So she does the music, she does the artwork. There's a whole story behind it. And so she's very inspired. Her art is inspired by ideas and stories and things like that. And so she's going to roll this out. I think there's going to be 100 NFTs. They're going to be rolled out over the year. And the story of Marlinspike is then going to be rolled out as the NFTs are rolled out. But the story chapter, like each NFT is going to represent a chapter. So the chapter will only be revealed when the NFT is purchased. So it might be that they're just purchased in order, and then like people just read it as they go, and then they anticipate before she does the next drop what the next chapter is going to be, or what's going to happen with the protagonist, the badass, as she likes to refer to her. But I'm also interested, what happens if they get minted out of order, and then like, you know, we have chapters 1, 2, 3, 7, 10, and 14. And like, what happens there?
Yeah, it's a Quentin Tarantino type NFT project.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. But yes, it could be. All right. Well, Renata, the next Quentin Tarantino, or the Quentin Tarantino of the NFT space, notwithstanding, Quentin Tarantino has a couple NFTs, and he's being sued by his studio for those.
Really?
Okay. Yes. All right. Mac Premo, see here. Well, Skojo, you've known Mac longer than all of us, so maybe you should comment first.
Gosh, how long has it been? It's been, 30 years. It's been a long time. I went to art school with Mac. Super talented guy. I mean, how many Emmys has he won? Like, I think 7. He's a filmmaker, animator, director, painter. I mean, he's created these huge bunt machines out of wood, like awesome artist, but didn't really know anything about the space at all, and was kind of the self-proclaimed curmudgeon of the NFT world.
He was pretty negative.
Yeah,
he was trying to take you down on social for even.
Yeah, it was awesome.
We
had a great conversation about like, are NFTs good? Are they bad? And you know, early on, he wasn't really sure what they were good for, and it seemed like there was a lot of junk. You look on OpenSea, and it's just lots of stuff, and there wasn't really kind of curation yet. And so I think he was kind of seeing that and thinking, "What is this?" Not really understanding. Wow, people are doing some really cool things. People are adding utility to it. It's not just a JPEG. And once he started to learn, his eyes opened up, and he thought, "Oh my God, this is just this is just another tool for me to connect with my audiences and to make cooler art with actual, you know, significance in the real world besides just, you know, looking at something beautiful on the wall." And then he was all of a sudden all in, and this is an amazing piece where I don't want to give it away the utility, but there's a great message behind it about preconceived notions around, you know, masks and covering up identities, and yeah, super cool. I feel like Mac's like a seasoned veteran now, so it's super awesome to see his evolution.
Yeah, you know, one thing about Mac's art is it's Mac, right? You see it, and he does these animations with physical objects together, and it's very distinctive and very Mac all over it, and they're really incredible. And I love his website. Actually, is a great place to go if you want to see some just amazing stop motion animations that just blow you away and show you how creative the guy is. And you know, I'm not going to give the whole story away from this, but it's, you know, this is something where he collaborates with a neighbor and a close family friend to create these collages that really have a powerful social message behind them. And you know, you're seeing part of that face, and part of that face is part of that whole message there. And so I'm really excited to see what Mac does with this. I love to see anything Mac creates, actually. So
yeah,
this is going to be great. And you know, welcome Mac to the NFT world. I know you were a curmudgeon about it, but you're so great, because you literally sent me a message. You said, "I was so wrong. there's so much opportunity here. Thank you for helping me see that. And that's one of the things I love about Mac is he's very self-deprecating, and he'll go, hey, I was wrong. I learned something, and now I'm excited about it.
Cool.
Yeah, well, I think there's good and bad in everything, right? So any technology, like the early days of the internet, right? There was plenty of reasons to think that it was bad if you're just focusing on the bad things that were happening, and there were some. But then there was a lot of really innovative things, and the same with the NFT space, and actually maybe more so in the NFT space because, you know, it went from store of value with the illusion of transactions to DeFi to art and innovation. I mean, it's really an incredible journey. And so I don't really fault anybody for being skeptical about it initially. Yeah, I think most people just have to go on their own journey and figure out if it's for them and what they can do. But yeah, I think the other thing about Mac with this is I think this project that he wound up doing, which is actually it's going to first debut as physical pieces in like another week or something like that in New York, Brooklyn. If you guys go to macpremo.com if you want to go to the opening, right? And then they're going to be minted as NFTs, and there's going to be access to the physical pieces from it. So I think people will really like it. But I think this is his third idea. He started out with some vague idea, and then he was definitely going to do something different as little as like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden it just clicked. He had this other project and he said, oh, this is perfect. He put all the pieces together. So I'm really excited not only to see what happens with this collection, because I think it is a pretty meaningful one, but what he does next, because I just think that he's got the bug now and he's so creative. He's going to do some really interesting projects going forward. All right. Eloise, Robbertze, Pearly Shurly. I'm going to take this one first. So I was Eloise's mentor for the Accelerator. And so we spent a lot of time together. And this is really interesting because, okay, we've had these different type of projects. We've got a couple that you've already seen so far, which are fine art. We've got one that's going to be PFP-ish, right? We've got a couple more of those that are going to be showing up. So this one actually has some fine art, some PFP, but it's really not about either of those. The art is great. The art's important, but it's about a charitable project, a charitable program. And in particular, it's about saving and restoring coral reefs. And, you know, Eloise, through this process, she started out with the North Star, that's what she wanted to do. And in fact, she's already been doing that with her fine art. She's a fine art photographer. She does these amazing oceanscapes. And she does some abstract drawings as well, associated with coral reefs and the ocean and those types of things. And she's always been giving a portion of the proceeds when she sells work for coral restoration. But this one, she said, hey, you know, I'm going to do something really big where I'm going to make a big impact. And she's working towards a project that's going to raise $5 million for coral reef restoration, education, and some really cool engagement. But the concept was the thing that blew me away. And she was able just to bring it down into like this perfect idea that she was able to express. And that's that her project is going to help restore, give homes to the homeless of the ocean, or something like that. But like this idea that the fish and the sea anemones and the other aspects, or the other sea life that lives in the coral or depends on the coral reefs for survival, are now homeless or becoming homeless. And I think that's something we can all relate to in our current age. But nobody's really talked to, I don't think, about the coral reef situation as basically creating homelessness for sea creatures. And I love this idea that she's going to, through her project and the broader team, she has a team now that's doing this, that they're going to create housing for the dispossessed of the ocean.
Yeah, you know, Eloise, her enthusiasm was just amazing through the whole program, and just excitement. And, you know, she would do, you know, so I was talking to her yesterday and we figured out that we're 12 time zones apart. And so it was lunch for me and it was midnight for her. And, you know, we had some things at night, and she would get up at like 3 in the morning to be part of this whole program. So that's just indicative of her energy and enthusiasm for it. And I, like you, Bret, when she said, you know, finding homes for the ocean's homelessness or homeless people, homeless creatures, or what, I can't remember. She says it even better than either of us. I was like, wow, because it's so hard to like distill something into a sentence, and she does it. And, you know, living in Mauritius, I mean, I think this is something she sees in her backyard and feels really, really powerful and strongly about it. And so, and when someone is passionate about it, something, it comes through in what they say, it comes through in their art, and you can see her passion for that cause coming through in her art, and it makes it all the more powerful.
Yeah, really cool stuff. She's a photographer as well, so I know her backgrounds are her photographs that she manipulates as well. So it's this really cool hybrid of illustration and photography, and you know, she's got big goals. I think she wants to raise $5 million, and she's talking to like big brands. I'm not going to give away any of her partnerships, but lofty aspirations and love that she's trying to, you know, really make a serious impact for the world and the environment. So talk about enthusiasm. Like she's there every Mint Monday, every chance she has to talk to us, she's there asking questions and contributing. So
yeah, I should make a comment about Mint Monday, but before I do that, so a lot of people are just wondering, you know, what are NFTs for? Well, here's like an NFT for good. Like this is a good cause. So I think people should take note of that. I mean, obviously it's a woman-led project. A lot of people are interested in women-led projects. We've had a couple of those already. I think this is the third one we've already presented here today. But I think people should take a serious look at it. So maybe coral reefs aren't the thing that have been on your mind, but you should check out our Discord, learn more about what's going on in that space and what they're going to do. They're actually going to plant coral. So if you buy one of our NFTs, you're going to get a certificate of a coral garden that's been planted in one of the areas where the coral reef restoration is taking place. So you've got the Caribbean, you've got Australia, you've got Mauritius is one of the places. That's where she lives. So again, like, would I have met Eloise living in Mauritius as a fine art photographer? There's no chance without the NFT space. And so, you know, talk about technology shrinking the world and bringing everyone together around shared interest and shared causes. Okay. NFT Mint Monday. That was actually, we saw Tommy Mintz just a few minutes ago. It was an idea he had. He started minting under the hashtag NFT Mint Monday, every Monday, a new photograph. And then Eloise and Renata and Colin Goldberg and a lot of other people have, our friend Jen Palpatino, Quantum Spirit, you know, they've been minting on Mondays as well. And the whole idea there is it's just a hashtag. You use it on Twitter on Monday, and you link to whatever you've minted, whether it's on, you know, Object or Foundation or OpenSea, it doesn't matter. And then we hold the Twitter Spaces that night as well. And the whole idea is like, this is for independent artists who aren't part of the hype train. And so Twitter Spaces, 8 p.m. Eastern, artists talk about what they just minted that day. It's really fun. It's kind of campy, kind of art nerdish, really fun. You get to hear some really cool things, but there's new quality art being done every Monday by independent artists. And you know, everybody's interested in this space about alpha, about getting in early and those types of things. If you know, the long play here is not the PFPs. You know, for people who are collectors, the long play is the things you really want to have in your wallet because they're just amazing art. And a lot of these artists are going to be creating for decades. It's not going to be the PFP project that's here and gone.
You know, not just your wall. It's the things you want in your wall is the way I think of it.
Yes.
Right. It's things that I want to collect, things where I want to print them and put them on my wall or put them in a digital screen that kind of rotates them and that. And I think you're absolutely right. The fine art PFPs have been dominant, and there's amazing PFPs. Don't get me wrong. But I think that it's led to just more and more of a discovery of fine artists. And it's such a rich opportunity for fine artists to go and sell their art to anyone in the world. And you were just talking about, Bret, meeting people across the world. I share with that. I would have never met most or any of these people, right, if we haven't had this. And people certainly, you know, 12 time zones away, never would have met them. So really an incredible opportunity.
Especially in our disconnected world, right? Like, because Roger, you and I worked in the AI industry for a long time. And like some of my closest friends are my industry friends. More like I'm more tied to them in the AI world than I am people in where I live. and that's just sort of a function of our modern age. But I would say the NFT space is even more so. It's like taking it up a level, because we're not just connecting around a shared interest around a technology and profession, but a lot of this, the meaning is so much more. Like you talk about, and some of it's the artist journey. Like we're next up, Scott Oppenheim. We're going to talk about like his personal journey, and I know Skojo's known him for a long time. But some of it's what they're doing, whether it's Eloise or Alex Leyva, which we've already talked about. So, all right. So we should get back to the art, a little aside. NFT Mint Monday, if you want to see cool artists every week, and if you've only collected PFPs in the past, hey, this is a great way for you to see some things. Maybe you'll find something you like, and you'll actually improve the quality of your wallet. All right. Scott Oppenheim had the Restart project. Skojo, you're going to have to go first on this one.
Yeah, Scott's super nice guy. I've known Scott for a long time. He was a designer with me in the advertising age. And I remember Scott was playing around with Flash action scripting way back in the day, and doing some really, really cool stuff then. So when NFTs came out, I knew he was going to start to throw down some generative art, and his stuff's really, really cool. It's, I mean, a lot of vector. He throws in some photography as well. They're animated. They have music. They're just really, really cool looking.
Yeah, you know, I look at this piece, and this is a still, but what happens is so that the bird in the front stays there, but all those kind of round discs actually create and move, and then there's some cubes, and it's a usually 3 or 4 minute animation. And what's really interesting is to see kind of patterns and things appear, and then they disappear, right? And so it's a whole kind of, you know, art is an experience. Well, Scott embodies that, because sitting there watching his art is an experience and kind of a discovery of, okay, what's next going to be revealed there. So I love Scott. Once again, super enthusiastic guy. And what's amazing is he just wants to literally, as we've seen his art and he's worked on it more and more on the Accelerator, I think it's getting better and better and better. It was amazing, and it's even more amazing now. So Scott is got a bright future in what he's doing here.
Yeah, I think, you know, I could look at Eloise or Mac and say, oh, they had the most evolved projects, like the ones that sort of evolved the most over the period of the Accelerator. I think I kind of agree that Scott had the most evolved art, because he's just been creating right along. You know, before he got to demo day and he talked about his new collection, he's been doing new things. And just to be clear and to sort of build on what Roger was talking about, so these are generative pieces. They're best seen, you know, in full motion. So you want to look at it that way. But they have music tracks as well. And I believe when he runs the algorithm, the music actually influences what's projected on the screen. And so he's got this track, and so he runs the music and the code together, and somehow that influences how the different things show up. And then he basically runs it a few times, and he just takes one of those, and that's the piece. So I love that. He did a great job. I really like that presentation. Next up, we had Kevin Pederson, and Kevin is really interesting for a couple of reasons. So first of all, we said we were going to set aside a couple of slots in the Artist Accelerator for non-artists, because this idea that there's probably some creative people out there who might have a project in mind, but they're not an artist, and part of the process, they want to recruit an artist, right? And do an art-centered project. And so Kevin had this amazing idea, which we can't even talk about because it's going to be like phase 4 of his project. But he's got all these interim steps. And so he has the Smart Goose project. And I really love this idea because he started community first. And he is basically looking at entrepreneurs, people who are starting their own businesses. And what a great idea, because as an entrepreneur, you need that. Just like artists need other artists very often to be successful, to get the critique, to get the moral support, whatever it is, to drive that innovation. Entrepreneurs need that too, right? And it's great. It's great that he's building this community, and it's going to be so fun. Like, you can just look at the artwork, you can see it's a really fun thing, and it's going to bring a lot of people together. So I love it. And Skojo, you might know a little bit about this project.
Yeah, it's been fun to work with him on this and see it evolve. It's, you know, he talks about this this kind of mantra, together in flight, which I think FLYT, which is a little play on the flight of beers, and you know, it's all about bringing people together, like you said, and we kind of did that for him. He said, you know, I kind of want to have like a concept of the goose. Can you hook me up with an artist? And so we found Betsy to kind of help him with that. And then he needed a logo, and so we found someone for that. Maybe it was me, maybe it wasn't me. But like, this is all about, you know, bringing people together where you have you know, a whole. And so we're doing exactly what he wants us to build at a micro scale, and now he's going to build it much larger. So really cool to work with an entrepreneur too, and have a break from an artist. Nice little change of pace. So Kevin's been great to work with, really enthusiastic and really constructive for everyone else too. So it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, you know, we said we modeled this after tech startups, and Kevin's a successful entrepreneur who's, you know, built up and sold some businesses. So he's really familiar with that world. And so what's been fascinating is he's like, okay, I have this idea. And as you were saying, Bret, around helping entrepreneurs, but now he wants to bring the NFT world into it, right? And these cute character, he's created this goose and that and things. And so really it points to kind of the innovation in utility that people are thinking around NFTs of, okay, I'm going to build this community. There's going to be this symbolism, this art that's kind of symbolic of everything, but I'm going to use it to build a community and get people together and build up this whole ecosystem there. And so I really like Kevin. He's really trying to embrace NFTs and take his entrepreneurial skills and knowledge and then find the right art and mix those all up into the right, you know, kind of soup or stew that leads to something really incredible. So I'm excited to see what Kevin does, and I think he is on a great track.
Yeah, and I can't wait till phase 4.
None of us can. Yeah, that's what told us. Yes, phase 4 is super cool. Get in early.
And that's right too. And right now we're accepting applications to the second cohort for the NFT Artist Accelerator. You guys can learn more about it. Just go to niftorian.com and you can apply, or you can go to the Discord. We actually have Accelerator chat if you want to ask questions about it. And then some of the people who've just been through it will probably answer even before we are, because they're active in there. But just to point, if you're creative, but you're not necessarily an artist, we do try to set aside a couple slots to give people a shot that, you know, they can recruit the artist to be part of their project. So, you know, Kevin's a perfect example. I'm so happy that we picked him. Great idea. I'm definitely looking forward to the beer. And what I really do like the art here. There's a sophistication to this that we don't see in many PFP projects. And so it just sort of gives you a sense of the quality and what Kevin's got planned going down the road. So, and I know he's got a much bigger ambition here. So if you're an entrepreneur, or, you know, you want to get into entrepreneurism, you might reach out to Kevin as well, because I think he's got slots for people to support the project going forward. Okay. Gavin Farrell. Hey, Scojo, you've known Gavin a couple of years.
Yeah.
You were Gavin. You were...
I was his TA. I was his TA at RISD, and
so it's all your fault.
Yeah, you know, I'm totally honest when I say this. Gavin was one of those students that I was angry at because I couldn't believe how good he was. I wanted to paint and draw like Gavin so badly, so freaking talented. And he's done all types of things beyond just like painting and drawing. He's got into this gigapixel photography, which is incredible. I mean, this project is talk about you know, social value and powerful. I mean, this is really, really cool how you can get inside of a protest and be a part of it. And yeah, it's really, really, really cool. I love what he's doing.
You know, I think I had a conversation with Gavin about, I guess it was about 4 weeks ago, because he was looking for, he was kind of asking a bunch of people, what should I do? And so I get on the line and he tells me about 4 or 5 things. And I'm like, I don't know. They all sound amazing, right? Like, that's Gavin for you, right? I was like, dude, like you now I'm the worst person to give advice because I want you to do all of them. So really, really creative guy. These idea of these gigapixel cameras and then taking them from, from skyscrapers and way high up down and seeing people and that it's just incredible. He showed me some examples of stuff he's done before. And I was like, darn you, Gavin. For the next 60 minutes, I sat there zooming in and out of like cities and seeing all this really, really cool stuff. And darn you in the best possible way, because it's really, really interesting stuff. So incredibly creative guy. I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, Gavin, we first met him. Well, I first met him. Scoj knew him. He brought for the Founders Collection for Niftorian. He was one of the 14 artists. And he sent us this process video before he sent us the final piece. Was him creating his owl in VR, basically a VR 3D paint solution that he then converted to 2D so that we could mint it the way that we were doing it. Although, in retrospect, we could have done lots of things, but that's what he wanted to do. So I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And then I found out about this whole gigapixel thing he's doing. Rez-volution, high resolution. It's a revolution. So I really like this idea because, they go to the high point of like a city or something like that. And because it's gigapixel and because these files are so big, like terabyte, some of them, you can zoom in to something like 0.2 of a mile away and see who the person is. So it's pretty extraordinary what they're doing. And I think the model is really clever. And then, for NFT collectors, again, this is a very different slant on fine art photography. And it's not just beautiful. It's not just important. It's like really fun too. Like there's a lot of really interesting elements. So I think people are really going to like this, and it's new to the world. That's like so many of these things that we were talking about just now. Like we worry about this thing, we call it copy pasta, right? There's so many copy paste NFT projects out there. So many people like stealing other people's ideas and stuff like that. We had like complete original ideas. And then it was a matter of them packaging it so people could understand what it was, what they were doing, adding some utility. I just love it.
Yeah. Great point, Bret. I mean, there is a lot of copy pasta out there. And then look, we just went through, I think 11 now, and they're all really unique. And I've never seen anything like several of these things. So what really just incredible creativity there. So I'm excited.
Yeah, people don't really know that we're just doing the NFT Artist Accelerator. So it makes the Kipsters degenning a little bit more efficient because the artists come to him as opposed to him having to find them.
Yeah, that's it. I've been exposed. I did tell all the artists, I was like, I think I made a comment about boy, my wallet's going to be a lot lighter on ETH if you guys all go out and mint and things like that, because their stuff is really cool. But yeah. Well,
and then the artists come. They're like, oh, I've never sold anything. I've never sold an NFT before. If I go to the Accelerator, I know at least Roger's going to buy one.
I want to support the art, so I was excited to buy a few artists' first NFT sales. So
to be the next people. That's why we do it, right? First hand.
Yeah, I think it's great stuff. And obviously, Scoj, you're an artist. Roger, your father was a photographer, and my mother's an art teacher. So we're all into it. I think it is a revolution we're happy to be part of. But we have one more thing to talk about. So those are some of the artists in the Accelerator. There are a couple artists who haven't been able to debut yet, either because they had a scheduling conflict for demo day, or because they're not quite ready, which is fine. That's something we understand. But we do want people, if what you just saw and what we were talking about interests you, I suggest you find out a little bit more about it, reach out to some of the artists, but apply to go to niftorian.com and apply to be part of the next cohort, because that's coming up. It's going to start in May and it's going to go to the end of June. So if you've got an idea right now, it's actually pretty good timing, and you'll get there over that 2-month period. You'll probably get to a quality project faster than you would just most people doing it on their own, which I don't even know how you do it on your own. I think it's really, really hard. So we try to help with that. But we did have one more thing that we wanted to present, because we thought you had time, and the timing was good for us. So we did the latest update on Niftorian. And so how should we handle this? We could talk a little bit about what we're hoping to do. So we laid out a little bit more about why we're doing this. So obviously we have this objective for our project to support 10,000 artists launching successful NFT projects, successful NFT careers. And the Artist Accelerator is one of the ways we're doing it. But we talked about a bunch of other things that we're doing. We've got a new Artist Con coming up, which we haven't really formally announced, but we did a demo day and you're hearing about it here. So that's going to be, think about all the conferences out there. They're really collector focused. We thought one was needed for artists, so the artists can learn, so that we can showcase artists, and that'll be good for collectors too. But then the learning for artists, and I think the collectors actually are making a mistake if they don't learn the process of actually creating processes, like what the artists are doing, what people, because it actually makes you a much better collector. You can figure out like what's unique, who's going to stick with it, what's maybe not the type of thing that you want to be investing in. So I think that's good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and kind of the creative process is the, Skojo was like, okay, find the next people or the next X copy and things. That's going to come from someone who's really creative, right? Who thinks outside of the box. And when you understand the artists and understand what they're doing and things there, I think if you're a collector, understanding, kind of the mindset of some of these artists is going to be a really good time to, go buy their work. And it's just fun to support like people with so much passion for what they do.
Yeah. And so if you're an artist, it's like kind of obvious that we have resources for you, not just the Accelerator, but we've got educational resources. If you're part of the community, you've got collaboration and some connections that you'll make with other artists. But it's also actually a good place for collectors because you actually get to see the artists before they do the tweet that says 100 whitelist spots left, come get them, right? Yeah. Or the people who are, maybe it's the next people, maybe it's the next POC, maybe it's something completely different that we haven't considered. Maybe it's more like the next evolution of Banksy or something like that for this space or X copy. And it's like diamonds in the rough. I love it that we're able to be able to do this. So collectors, I think there's a lot there for them. We're actually going to do some programming around collectors as well coming up. But I think the bigger concept that we put out is what we've learned is the artists need a number of things in this space. One is a little bit of help, filling in those gaps, like education, connections, and then how we can wrap that all up together to make them more successful and to create a scenario where they can engage with collectors. And so we did announce as well, we're going to create these virtual studio spaces for artists specifically in a Web3 environment. And so we'll have a little bit more about that coming up. We've got some cool things being built right now. Probably won't surprise you given that Roger and I talked about we're in the AI space. We've been in software for a long time. So we think there's some very cool things that are very Web3 oriented that the artists will benefit from. But before we close out, I wanted Skojo to talk just a little bit about the art. So we have this PFP project as well. So we've got the Founders Collection. We have 14 pieces out there. They're multiple editions. They're owls. That's really great art from some really prominent artists. So people can check those out. Those also serve as mint passes for the PFP project. And then we wanted to create a profile photo project, mostly because we wanted an affinity token. We wanted something everyone can rally around and to be part of this community for artists. But because we're so art-centric and because Skojo's kind of a pain in the ass when it comes to art quality, we decided to make it really good. Skojo, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, this art is so awesome, as you can see. We got Matthew Curry, who's an incredible illustrator and designer. I mean, he's won tons of awards as well. His clients are, let's see, Budweiser, Pokemon. He's won awards for Thievery Corporation Design. Total awesome guy to work with.
Well, he won a Grammy for album art, right?
Yeah. No, he's amazing. No, he's A-list. Totally awesome. Had never done PFP before, so it was a learning process for him and for me as well. I mean, we both learned a ton of things to do, a ton of things not to do. But it was really, really fun to work out all these attributes. I mean, as you can see, they're owls. They're from 7 different societies. We have really old ones like the ancient owls. We have the Teslans from the future. We have an alien race. Renaissance artist owls, builder owls from the Industrial Revolution. And they all have really cool, like, artsy attributes. So you can see a pencil sword there. We've got a lot of paintbrushes, and I think there's even a camera obscura. There's all types of artsy references for the arts in the community. So yeah, really, really fun to work on this. I can't wait to mint my owl soon.
And for you collectors out there, we have the D-Gen Society as well. And you can see over on the right-hand side, that's the diamond hands.
Oh yeah.
With
the ETH hoodie as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So really cool. So we actually did mention that we are going to have our first mint. So we're going to roll out the PFPs in waves. The first 10% are going to be available starting on the 22nd of April. So if you want to get whitelisted, you should probably go to the Discord now. If you just go to niftorian.com, you'll be able to get there. And I can bring that back up so people can see it. Let's see right there. So we just talked about demo day. You should apply for cohort 2 if you're an artist or a creator that you want to run a project. We're here to help you. There's actually no obligation, right? No cost to apply, no cost to participate. But you do have to go through an application process, and you might have to talk to us to get through the gauntlet. If you're also like, we just want to tell people, I mean, we're really trying to create a supportive community here. So if you have questions, Skojo just talked about this idea of a generative project. If you're working on a generative project, you have questions. I know everybody does because we get them all the time. Roger, Skojo, Mikkel, who wasn't able to make it today, like, they know a lot about this because we've run these, we've helped other people with them. So to do that and anything else. So demo day was awesome. The world's first NFT Artist Accelerator. I hesitate to say it's like a Y Combinator origin story for NFTs. Is it? I don't know. That would be
that'd be pretty cool.
I don't know if we're ever going to have a cohort of 400 startups, 400 NFT artists.
Oh yeah, I don't know if that works with the art world, but we'll see. I don't know.
I like the personal touch.
Good shoes to cut, footsteps to follow with the art world, I'd say. So,
all right. Any closing thoughts, Kipster?
Hey, come join us and things. I think, this is a taste of what we're trying to do. And Bret talked about, I did once, that Web3 way of viewing and experiencing art. God bless OpenSea, but OpenSea looks like Amazon for art to me. And that's not how art's supposed to be viewed and experienced. And so I think there's a really creative and innovative ways to show off your art, to collaborate with other artists as collectors, to view the art and see it in completely different ways that are not Web 2, that are Web 3 native. And so more and more is going to come out about that, but we're really, really excited about that. So stay tuned.
What about you, Skoj?
This was a great experience. I mean, it was so great to see everyone's evolution. And like I was telling all the cohorts yesterday, like this isn't the beginning. I mean, this isn't the end. This is just the beginning. We're just getting started. So, the doors are always open, and these relationships are going to keep growing, and we want to be a part of their journey and help them as much as we can. So yeah, it's been great. I can't wait to have the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be fun. And so, you guys should like and subscribe. So we interview artists on this channel. We do a This Week in NFT News. I do that with my co-host, Scott Leach. We have a great time, trying to help people understand what's going on in this space and to support them as well. And also you can ask questions in the comments. That's fine as well. But in the notes below, we'll put links to different places. Join the Discord. It'll be an easy way for you to get to everything, or just go to niftorian.com. You can find stuff there. I think that's it for now. We are going to do another piece. We just did a little preview. We didn't want to go into much detail on Niftorian. About a week from now, we're going to do a much deeper dive because we've got that mint coming up, and I know there's a ton of questions. So we're going to do something like 20 minutes or so just on that, and then we'll do a town hall and things like that in the Discord. But that Web3 space, this idea that artists we recognize are really priced out of crypto voxels, sandbox, Decentraland. We think we have another option for them, which is going to be a way to expose art in the way that it should be viewed. So we're really excited about that. We're really excited about the Accelerator. Check out all those artists. They're amazing folks. And by the way, every one of them, and this includes us, we think of these as 10-year projects. We don't see this as like, oh, a little adversity, we're out of here in a year. We're in this for the long haul because we're actually building and we're all builders. And so we're really excited where this is going to go. Kipster, Skojo, thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts today.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Bret. Thank you. Creatorius or Bret?
Both.
Both, yes. Creatorius Bret. Bret Creatorius.
That's right. All right, folks. Thanks for coming back. All you NFT hunters out there, you degens. Until next week, happy hunting.